There's a scene in this week's Parsha that is as famous as it is curious. Yaakov, the embodiment of truth and straightforwardness, at the suggestion, with the assistance of his mother, the matriarch Rivka, engages in some trickery, if not treachery, when he impersonates his brother Esav in order to intercept and take away the blessing that their father Yitzchak had planned to give to Esav. That must have been an unbelievably important blessing for Yaakov to resort to those types of tactics. And it was. But one commentator points out that Yaakov never accessed the benefits of that blessing that gave him dominion, control over his brother Esav during Yaakov's lifetime. Instead, he held on to it, held it in escrow, because he knew that over the course of history there were going to be times when Esav's descendants would rally around and try to exterminate all of Yaakov's descendants. And then we, those descendants, the Jews, would need to access that blessing. Rome, Haman, Hitler. And so perhaps it was that blessing, the one that Yaakov took through those suspect means, that saved our lives time and time again throughout Jewish history. Earlier this week, I spent a couple of days in Berlin, Germany, speaking at a number of different venues for the Jewish community. Anytime I go to Germany, it's an unbelievable trip because teaching Torah to Jews in Germany is like an in-your-eye Adolf moment. And the fact that I had a choice of kosher restaurants, good kosher restaurants, in Berlin, Germany, was pretty amazing. When I went to one of them, I briefly met a fellow who was wearing a pilot's uniform and the yarmulke on his head. That was interesting. I figured he must be a commercial pilot for United, Delta, something like that. Turns out that he is a pilot in the German Air Force, wearing his German Air Force uniform with a yarmulke on his head. Can you imagine that? And then there was the shul where I prayed, where I spoke, a shul that was destroyed during the war by the Nazis, and that in recent years was rebuilt through a donation from the billionaire philanthropist Ronald Lauder. The people who rebuilt it had a picture, so they knew exactly what the shul had looked like. But the picture was in black and white, so they didn't know what colors the shul had been, until they found an elderly fellow who had had his bar mitzvah in that shul. So he was able to tell them what colors the shul originally was, and they were able to faithfully recreate not only the dimensions of the shul, but also the original colors. Now imagine if you had told that fellow during the war, after the shul was destroyed, given what was going on to the Jews in Germany and in Europe, don't worry, someday we're going to be back here. We're going to rebuild that shul. We're going to pray there. We're going to study Torah there. Even if he was a person of great faith, he might have had a lot of trouble believing that. But sure enough, it happened. We're back there. And we're still here, and we're not going anywhere.